Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the August Pitchmasters workshop presented by Next, powered by Shulman, Next Raise, Silicon Valley Bank, and SeedSpot. We are super excited to have such a great group this morning, three amazing presenters, and an audience full of entrepreneurs that are excited about the feedback. My name is Lisa Friedlander. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer over here at Next, powered by Shulman Rogers. Next is an award-winning and innovative model for the delivery of legal services to startup and emerging growth companies. And we are honored to be able to present the monthly Pitchmasters workshop as part of our Next Raise platform. I'd love to introduce our two judges today and have them talk a little bit about themselves and their companies. We'll go ahead and kick it off. Josh Grolman, our newest judge from SVB. Josh, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Lisa. Like I said, thrilled to be here and to hear some of these pitches that these founders have been working hard to build. And you're taking the first step, all of you, as in you're here seeking feedback on how to up-level. Like a growth mindset is probably the most important thing as you're building a company, because guess what? You're going to be wrong a lot, and you don't know how to do a lot of the stuff you need to do to build your company. Hence the growth mindset. Even the best operators in the world either understood this or they ran into it and figured this out along the way, and they had that growth mindset. So I just had to kind of call that out, and that brings me a lot of energy and excitement to be here right now. As Lisa mentioned, I'm Josh Grolman. I'm a director of startup banking at Silicon Valley Bank. We believe we are the primary bank focused on the innovation economy. And our job is to support innovators from inception all the way through IPO. We believe we have the most robust banking platform in order to support that. One way that I think we're very unique is that we have a dedicated early stage banking practice focused on hiring people with startup operating and investing backgrounds, not traditional bankers. So I come from the startup operating world. I've helped build an early stage startup. We've gone through Techstars, Y Combinator, raised the Series A, went through some, of those scaling opportunities and challenges. I wanted to come back to SVB to share those learnings with our clients. So anyway, it's things like this that I'm thrilled to be involved in, to be able to support the next generation of entrepreneurs. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Josh. And our original Pitchmasters co-sponsor, SeedSpot, Jorge.
Hello, hey everybody. Jorge Mendez here, Senior Program Manager for SeedSpot. And yeah, I want to echo a lot of what Joshua shared as well in terms of the growth mindset and being able to present the work that you're doing with a community that wants to elevate you and that wants to help you. And so happy to be part of that. SeedSpot, we're a nonprofit organization, have been in existence for 11 years and have been able to serve over 3,000 entrepreneurs from across the United States and across the world through our programming, support, and mentorship. And so happy to share more if you want to connect, but we do have boot camps and an accelerator program as well, and a new incubator program that we just launched for health startups. And so yeah, you can learn more about SeedSpot and the link that I just dropped in the chat. And yeah, happy to learn more about what the work that you're doing, and hopefully give you some feedback that you can take or not. Right? Ultimately, you're in the driver's seat. You are the captain of the ship. And so any feedback that we may give you is based on our own perspective and experience, but you get to decide what you want to incorporate. So happy to be here.
Great feedback. Thanks to both of you. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started with Ram, our first presenter today. Ram, feel free to go ahead and share your screen and pitch in whatever mode works at the moment. And as a reminder, you have 6 minutes.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Ram Mahidra, and I'm going to talk to you really about Arara, which is an online platform that companies use. Let me actually see if I can get this to go forward. We've had some technical issues, and it doesn't seem to want to move. Okay. So we're a digital platform for supply chains to effectively manage sustainability risks. So what happens is that companies use our platform to look at their own ESG and climate risks, to look at their performance, and to look at the same for their supply chains. In order to incentivize the suppliers to join, we use finance to really encourage them to join. We believe it's a very large market opportunity. Current estimates are about $35 billion. Our own SOM is more focused at about $0.8 billion. And we've done this from a bottoms-up approach. To give you an idea, we are a Delaware C Corporation, founded in 2022. We spent about a year and a half before that working on it. We started first country of operations, Brazil, currently looking to expand in the United States as well. And we have operations in Nigeria. A very quick idea about the network effect. We've had, because of the companies and supply chains and because of suppliers working with multiple anchor clients, as we call them, we're seeing a huge growth in the network effect and the way companies are noticing us. Case in point, we had a very successful webinar with Brazil's largest financial journal called Valor Econômico. And Sistra, which is right at the center here, saw that, reached out to us, signed up, and then broadcast on LinkedIn saying, we're very proud to be with Arara. Mr. Cat to the left, a retail chain that has about 200 leather and apparel stores, joined us, brought their lender, that brought Águas do Brasil, the second largest wastewater company, and the chain kind of goes on. Where are we right now in terms of clients? We have about 950 companies on the platform. We have 6 anchor clients, 5 in Brazil, 1 in Nigeria. Nigeria is a legacy issue we got through buying one of our co-founders' companies. And our suppliers, our participants are distributed across a variety of sectors. Current annual recurring revenues are about 200,000, and we are hoping to get to about 700,000 this year. The co-founding team has 80 plus years of experience. 3 of us, Philip Gutierrez, co-founder and CEO. He has been a CFO and a CEO of fairly large companies, 5,000 employee companies, 1,500 employee companies, and was hired to triple revenues of his last company in 7 years, did that in 4 and moved on. And I've known Philip for about 20 years when he and I did the first container terminal privatization in Brazil in the late 90s. Sudhi Mukherjee is a CTO, PhD in environmental engineering, water, wastewater, and sustainability expert. Sudhi and I both share a common theme, and that is we worked for IFC, the World Bank Group, for about 20 plus years. I left as a CIO, a Chief Investment Officer, focused on infrastructure financing around the world, in the developing world. I spent 11 out of my 22 years at IFC in the field, living in Africa, 8.5 years, Hong Kong, 2.5 years. So they did the same, East Asia, South Asia. That's kind of the team. We're very focused. We've moved into this field because we really believe in it and we have the background for it. This is the definition of seed or pre-seed always varies, but since we're ideally looking for safes, I probably could call it a pre-seed. We're looking for about 2 million, an 18 months runway, 60+% focused on technology to move our existing platform to the next level. To summarize, $35 billion is the TAM, a couple of $1 million is what we're looking for, and we expect by 2027 to hit the 100 million revenue mark. I'm going to stop presenting here for a minute and take the remaining minute that I have to just talk a little bit. I've kind of spoken about the company, but it's not entirely clear whether everybody has got what we do. We're an online digital platform. Our focus is to work with companies in the real sector, in the government space, in the financial sector, to help them assess their ESG risks, help them assess their ESG performance. We integrate 3 or 4 of the world's largest standards into our platform, and we are very, our goal is to take the pain off the client and to be current and up to date. We see regulation and investors and stakeholders as the main driving force for companies to move in our direction. I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ram. Excellent presentation. Certainly struck by the experience of the founding team. Really remarkable. Josh, do you want to kick us off with feedback for Ram?
I'm happy to. Thanks, Lisa. Ram, thanks for sharing your pitch with us and sharing about your business. A couple initial thoughts that come to mind. The first thing I think where there's an opportunity is just broadly speaking, and I'll get into more like specific advice as it relates to this, is like thinking through what the narrative flow of the pitch can be like. Like, you know, think about it in like a storyline that makes a lot of sense to someone maybe that's just being dropped in hearing about this problem and this business and your team and the opportunity and what all of that has led to getting to some level of like traction and success to, you know, the point of, you know, at where you're kind of like ready for that next phase. That should all like flow, you know, very kind of seamlessly in order. I think one great way that I've seen pitches start is actually like an attention grabber. It doesn't need to be this crazy showmanship by any means, but I think there's a couple things. One, if you have some like really compelling kind of, you know, statistic or insight about the ESG industry that can blow people away, that like is a really great way to anchor attention for the rest of the presentation. And it also actually shows your knowledge and expertise as well of the problem you're trying to solve. So I think that's like a really core component there. I think another thing is up front, and you did it kind of at the end, but actually I think for the rest of the presentation to make sense, it's really important that you drill down on the problem that you're trying to solve and the unique way that you're solving it as sort of like the next step after you talk about that like really interesting insight going into your presentation. And so I would kind of like reorder that and put that like close to the front of the pitch. The other thing is like, and you sort of have this, you had a couple stats at the beginning, kind of at the bottom of like slide 2 or 3, but then you had some traction metrics at the end. As you think about, going a little bit deeper and spending a little more time on those traction metrics, but make sure you like slot that at the back of the presentation, because again, as like a narrative flow, you want to be thinking about how is all like the problem statement, my understanding of the problem, the unique way we're solving it, the team that we have that's best assembled to solve it. How do all of those things come together to deliver the traction that you're already seeing? It's kind of like, these are all the things that we're trying to prove out, and this is the proof that we're having right now with the traction. So that's a great way to actually like end things for the most part, but spend a little more time on how all of that converted into the traction you're seeing, not just having it on a slide. And then the last thing, Ram, is, and maybe this is just unique to the pitch that you're doing right now, but the immediate question I know investors are going to have is, if you're pitching, where is Felipe, the CEO? You know, and maybe he just couldn't attend today or whatnot, but if you are maybe more comfortable pitching, or that's more in your experience, I would recommend at least doing that jointly together and having him attend and be a participant, because I promise you, I thought it immediately, and I know every investor is going to think, where's the CEO? Why isn't he talking about, you know, and bringing some to light about the vision of the business as well? And then one other thing, I love the team slide. You obviously have like an incredibly assembled team with a ton of experience. Actually spend a lot more time, instead of just running through the background, answer this key question of like, why we're the team best assembled to win in this market. I think that's like a really clear way to like very directly answer a question like that, rather than just reading through like people's general, like very impressive, but general backgrounds about things. And I think that's probably where most of the feedback I was able to get through. I hope that is helpful though, Ram. Excellent job. Yeah.
Very helpful.
Thanks, Josh. Yeah, great points. Jorge.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh, thank you. Were you reading my notes? Because I was like, yes, preach. That's exactly all of that. And so I'm going to add on to what Josh shared as well, kind of continuing many of those threads. So Ram, I think that the supporting structure of the pitch was pretty strong, and supporting structure was oh, sorry, I'm hearing feedback. Network, the traction, the team. You have a supporting structure. There was the essence that was missing, which then you stop sharing your screen and you're like, I have a feeling some of you don't understand what we do. And I was like, yes, I don't. So thank you for telling us more, because that was missing in the pitch, right? And so Josh mentioned the problem, and that's such an important piece of storytelling, but also making a compelling case, right? Because particularly if you're pitching for investment or for partnerships or for clients, it's like, what problem are you solving as an organization, right? As an entrepreneur, you're solving someone's problem, right? And so paint us the picture, right? Paint us the ESG picture. Like, what is the issues that the clients are facing that you are coming with a solution for, right? And so you establish what the problem is, you establish kind of the foundation, then you describe what your solution is, right? And so you use a service, right? So this is how we directly attack and approach and solve the problem that you, the client, are facing. And so by kind of using that structure, you're able to paint the picture, use storytelling, and make a compelling case and have us be interested and understand from the get-go. And then from that point, you can then share the supporting structure, which is the traction, the network, the team, everything that Josh said about those as well. One last thing here to add, I'll be interested to also get a picture or a profile of who the average client is. Now, you mentioned organizations working trying to get clarity in their ESG performance, et cetera. But I'd be curious, like, what kind of size of company, right? How many employees is the average company? Do you have 2 or 3 different clients that are looking for different things, but that your solution will benefit, right? So who are those people or organizations? Like, just give me a profile. You don't have to get in depth, but it does kind of add clarity to the audience as to who your target market is. Miss my notes. Yep, that's what I wanted to add in there. So, but overall, like, great job as well. And that minute that you spoke without a slide, bring some slides in. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Jorge. Thanks,
Yeah.
Ram. Any clarifying questions for either Josh or Jorge on the feedback?
So every time I pitch, I get slightly different feedback. I had 2 slides.
course.
Actually, I had about 5 slides that I suppressed, including telling the story in the beginning, because the last time I went in, maybe I'm burnt a little bit. I was pitching to a client and pitching to a potential investor, and they promptly told me that ESG is a Democrat ploy to steal his data. And so I didn't want to bring the ESG, but there is a slide that talks about the amount of fines that is happening, the way companies have had a problem with dealing with some of these issues, and why it's both a source of contention. It also saves you money when you do this, but it helps you make more money. So there is a whole narrative there.
Yeah.
There's also clear, what are your pain points and what are we addressing? Again, another time, not too recently, in the recent history, I did a pitch. I had 4 minutes and I got through 3 slides instead of 7. So I was really trying to cut down, and I obviously didn't choose the one that worked for you, but this is excellent. Thank you. Thank you for the feedback. Really appreciate it. Over to you.
Good. Terrific,
And
Rob.
I'll
Yeah, I
connect
mean,
with you folks.
as they alluded sort of at the beginning, these are opinions, right? Everybody's their opinions, whether they're an investor or somebody here is experienced, like Jorge and Josh or myself, or maybe others that see these pitches all the time. And it is that is the hard part, that you will get absolutely conflicting feedback time and time again. And then it's up to you to figure out, what resonates. But hopefully each time it gets a little bit more solidified, at least in your mind, as to how you want to tell the story. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. And I'll connect with both the feedback people. I'll give you more details and learn more from you. Thank you so much.
Terrific.
Over to you.
Thanks, Ram.
I have a meeting.
Nina.
I'm running late.
Yes, feel free to drop whenever you need to. Thanks for participating.
I apologize. Thank you.
All right, moving on to Nina. Thank you.
Great.
Nina, feel free to share your screen. Yep, perfect.
I will. Back here. Sorry, bear with me 1 second.
Yep, take your time.
Listening to that advice about sometimes you don't know what to hide and what not to hide, what to present, what not to, right. Let's get a full present mode. Present, hello.
All right.
All right.
Go right ahead. Yep, we can see your screen.
Let's go backwards to where this is supposed to be. Sorry, give me a little technology here. Supposed to go backwards. Oh no, I have Ram's bad luck right now. It's neither going forwards nor I'm sorry. Let me
That's okay.
Maybe we could do it
Take your
manually.
time and try to get it,
At least
reset
it'll
it.
work
There we
manually.
go. Okay,
Okay, ready?
perfect. Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. So tomorrow is your friend's birthday. On Friday, you want to send your niece or your cousin a little gift just to tell them I'm thinking about you. Monday is your colleague's anniversary and you're in charge of getting the gifts. Your quick first thought is this will be fun. And that immediately evaporates and you're left in one state, anxiety. What am I going to get? How am I going to get it there? The questions begin, and all you desperately want is a solution. So we at Get Gifted have it for you. We are going to deliver to you the feeling you get every time you send a gift to somebody, look at their expression and think, aha, nailed it. And we're not going to bring that to you just the 7 days a year you're obligated to give gifts. We're going to bring that to you the other 358 days, because we also think that every day is an opportunity to tell somebody you think that they're special. So how did I get here? Well, I had a problem, and I had a problem that needed a solution. So here I found myself a few years ago, way across country. And every morning, my niece and I would go out to the farmer's market and I'd get her fresh blueberries, a tradition. And then we'd go buy our little gifts. Came back to the East Coast, sat in my office early in the morning and thought, well, how will I get Stella her blueberries? I want her to shop locally. I want her to get what she wants. I can't Venmo her blueberries. I can't send them through the mail. And years coming forward, what would I get her for holiday time? What will I get her on Tuesday to tell her I'm thinking about her? There was no solution I could think of. So I had to invent one. I had to somehow become creative and come up with a new approach to gift giving. So what Get Gifted is, it's a digitized wish list that people come in and they create. When they download the app, they create their personalized wish lists, and those wish lists contain all the different items, services, lifestyle experiences, cooking lessons if you want them, get a tattoo, go golfing, head to Europe, or just go buy a lemonade. Whatever it is that you want, any time of the day, I can send you the right gift. And the way I do it is I can find you in my contacts. I pull up your name, I find the item you want, and you have pre-populated and told me the cost of the item, tax and tip included, because a complete gift is what you want. You no longer want those inefficient ways of giving a gift and those ones that are impersonalized. It takes you 9 seconds now to send someone a gift that that person actually wants, which is the most important part of gifting. It's the personalization. No longer will you be sending gifts back like 96% of Americans do. Here we go. So we have competition and we know who you are because this is what is traditionally used. People use Venmo, they use gift cards, they use different methods to try to solve the problem that is not solved with the solution that they have come up with, because their current shopping methods are impersonal, they waste time, they waste money, and they are not on point. They're not effectively doing what it is that you want to do. So we have made gifting intentional. We've made it personal. We have customized it down to the penny. We are also environmentally friendly in every which way. There's no way I can get you a lemonade across the country unless I give you the money to go do so. Wrong direction. Come on, technology, hang with me here. All right, we have a huge market that we're looking at, and this is just the US gift card market, right? This is the easiest solution. And a gift card tells me that you went into Wawa, their local Walgreens, and you bought me my birthday present or my gift because you knew that you had to get it and the occasion was coming. So just the breakage in credit in unspent gift cards alone in 2023 is predicted to be $21.1 billion. If we can capture 10% of that market and then even skinny it down to our demographic that is our most heavily user base right now, we can capture 37.5% of the market, because this is the age that wants things and they want people to know that they want things. So Gifted does what other traditional gifting platforms can't do. Right? They're not personalized. They're not customized. They're not friendly. They're not telling me that you know who I am and what I want. They're not on point, and you can't give them to me in 9 seconds, anytime, day or night, when you're thinking about me. Since our inception just 5.5 months ago, we are growing month over month at 173% of adding on to social media. We are talking to the people at Gore to start to talk about our corporate gifting platform that we've built out. We've built out a donation gifting platform, and that is under development spec right now. We've collaborated with Red Bull, and we've partnered with, to date, over 34 local businesses in this Baltimore area, because we bring local businesses business. That's what we do. We are connecting. We connect people to people and people to businesses. We have a strong leadership team with over 75 years of experience, because we are still mountain climbers and blueberry eaters. And we have our eye on the prize. We know where we're going. Everybody, we work together seamlessly, and we are strong in all the different departments where we need to be. We just have a revenue model that is just 5.7% of the gift that you sent, which is a fee that you don't even notice, because you're so grateful that you can send your niece in Topeka, Kansas, that smoothie that you know that will just make her day. It's seamless. By the time you send it in 9 seconds, she gets it a few hours later, sends you a thank you note. There's a social media feed included in it, so she can click, take a picture of herself while she's drinking that blueberry. And then there's a thank you note built in. So right as she's drinking her smoothie, she can send you that thank you note that she's not going to text or call. We have so far raised $80,000. We are coming into safe note rounding at $500,000, or $250,000, I'm sorry. And that's to just speed our onboarding, our going to market, and look at our new vertical build outs. So we are Get Gifted. Everybody wants to feel gifted, and now we make it possible. Thank you.
Great, Nina. Thank you. Just FYI, you were closer to 7 than 6, but great presentation and nice slides. No worries, no worries. Jorge, you want to start the feedback this time?
Yeah, sure. I'll try not to read in Josh's notes. No, I'm kidding. And so, no, so Nina, pleasure to see you here. We've connected before. Yeah, I recognize that name, and then mainly the pitch. I was like, oh, I've spoken to Nina before. Yeah, and so the intro is a little long. I wasn't clocking it, but it felt definitely over a minute. And so I would definitely shorten it down. I do like the personal story, but it did drag on for a bit. We kind of got it at the beginning, and you kept going with it. And so just in terms of time management, that piece. Also, slides can be used as visual aids to help the audience latch onto things that you want them to latch onto. And so, for example, like if you want a particular number that validates the problem that you're looking to solve, having it on the screen allows the audience to listen to you, see it visually, and then latch onto that, whatever that number may be. A number could be, and that's kind of like a note that I wrote at the beginning when you were like in your intro, because you were on one slide for a long time, and perhaps like if you want, when you're adjusting that intro, maybe you can have a couple of slides or one slide in the beginning, not just the intro. All right, so kind of further along in the pitch, would have liked to have seen proof that people use the product, and you did have that. You had a traction slide, right? Yeah. But would like to have seen like a story of someone that's not in your family who used the product and how did they use it, right? And also kind of the question of how are you different than the competition? And I use Starbucks and Crumble to give gifts to colleagues, and also personally as well. And $5 Starbucks gift card, you can just send an email, right? There's no fee if I'm correct. Maybe there is, I haven't noticed. Right, Crumble, the cookies, like I've used that a bunch. And so someone like me, right, who I think is a target audience for this kind of platform.
Exactly, right. We have numbers of people who get the Starbucks, right? Okay.
Right, exactly. And so, and kind of the total number of people have used it so far, and if it's okay if it's not a quote unquote impressive number, right? You can tell us it's 25. Perfect, that's great. Now you have 25 data points, and that's better than better than having us guess, all right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so that's my notes in here, and then the 6.5% that you mentioned. Yeah, I'm curious as to kind of what people may like if you have interviewed folks, because something that could be interesting right now, you're in a prototyping phase. All right. At least that's the way I interpreted it. And so will be interesting to see like if you had interviewed or had conversations with customers that have used the platform and gathered their thoughts. And you say, look, you have distraction, but also we learned from our customers that they X, Y, and Z. And I'm sure you've already done that, but letting us know that is also could be very helpful. And then let's see what else. I may have missed it, but in terms of market size, I didn't latch on, or maybe it wasn't in the slide. The potential market that exists for people that gift in this way. Like, is there data that exists that tells you, okay, in either in total numbers of people or in total money invested, or spent rather, not invested, in gift giving in the US. I may have missed that though, but if it wasn't there, then love to see that. Anyway,
there was a slide that Nina used in terms of the size of the market is the gift card market.
The gift card market.
Analogy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because but the gift card market, is that analogous to
smaller,
gift giving?
Certainly smaller than gift giving as a whole.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
I'm just curious.
Tipping into the trillions. Right.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just curious on that.
Unrealistic.
Yeah, those are my notes. But overall, Nina, it's great to see you pitch. And I'm glad you're still working on this. And yeah, just these are all the pieces, small pieces that I noted. But overall, I think you did a great job, Nina. So thank you for being a part of this.
And I will add in there that, right, we've only been out for 5.5 months, but we have over 800 users. Right.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
That's important.
That's amazing. Yes. That is an impressive number. I said 25, lowballing it, but 800 is like so much, like it's so much more. It's really, really good. So use that in your storytelling because it's impactful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jorge. Josh?
Yeah, that was great. Jorge, you covered a lot of the ground that I was mentioning. Nina, great job. Again, kudos on the traction. Like, we have to separate the pitch from the traction in the business, because like you should be really proud of that. And the pitch is just like one element to help you realize, that future growth, but like the actual day-to-day executing of the business is really like where the the magic is happening. So a couple things just to unpack some things Jorge said, and then a couple other ads regarding the introduction of the pitch. I would choose between one of the two anecdotes you had, either the, like you talked about putting us in like the situation where imagine you're blah, 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 versus you had, talking about Stella's like gift giving scenario. I would probably choose just the one with Stella and have that be a guided story through the slides that you had on there, and advance to that slide faster, because you spent a lot of time on that first like title slide while going through that like hypothetical. And so I'd cut that for brevity and also like effectiveness of like storytelling and narrative flow. Okay. That's one thing.
Just quick ask, because that's what I've had for the longest time. And this new add-in was because men are always saying, but I don't have a problem gifting. I don't have a problem gifting. And I'm always trying to say, well, okay, you're not the demographic I'm talking to, and somebody in your house does, right? And we've given you the solution to that person's headache. And so that's why somebody was saying, talk about the anxiety that people have. So you would suggest losing that earlier piece.
A couple things. One, I think bigger feedback is choose one story.
Okay.
Like, it can be a different story then if you need it to resonate, but don't do both. I would recommend doing one of the stories and moving on. The other thing is like, and this goes back to the feedback. There's always going to be contradictory feedback if you talk to enough people. That's true. Try having 150 mentors and Techstars try to tell you everything starts just contradicting. But my point being is that's okay, because you should be structuring it to like resonate with the people that you're pitching to and the customer base that you're trying to resonate with. And that's not going to be everybody. And that's okay though. Because if you hear that from people that are intentionally outside of like maybe your ideal customer profile or the investors you're trying to reach, that's okay that they don't resonate with it. They're just not the right partners right now. That's okay. Right. It's good signaling actually. And so that's one thing. The other one is what immediately I think jumps to folks, Nina, is there are a lot of gift-giving apps out there. Whether it's to the point some of the competition you mentioned, or there are some other ones that I'm familiar with that weren't listed there. I think like what you should cut right to is like, and you did a bit of this in the slide, but I think there is a way to like, cut right through a little bit cleaner of like, what are the like few things that are like truly special and really differentiated about, Get Gifted versus the competition. I think that needs to be like a punchier line that just cuts through some, what I think people can run through a couple different providers there. And then that leads to more of the competition slides. So you had two different kind of competition slides. You had one where you talked about some of the special sauce, and then two, you had this big like matrix slide around all the competitive differentiators. Nobody can probably like conceptualize that or like digest all of that information on that kind of format. My recommendation would be to make that like a much cleaner, simpler slide. Do like a 4-box matrix, have a couple of the key differentiating factors on each axis, and then place, areas where Get Gifted is superior versus some other players in the market. That's visually a lot more digestible, and then you can just speak to it in a narrative fashion a little better. I hope that helps. Yeah.
No, that's great. That big add-on was from the last person I talked to. So, okay, right.
Yep. I think that's great in like an investment memo when you're like getting into diligence and you're talking about your deep understanding of the market and the competitive landscape. In a pitch, it just doesn't it doesn't lend itself to that kind of format. And then a couple other things more on the metrics, something just going away from format, more like what investors would drill down to there. You have user growth there. In the format of the business model that you're pursuing, like what defines a user? Is it just someone that signs up for the platform, or is it somebody that has made at least one gift? Do you have a number of users that are defined as like, repurchasers or like multiple time gifters? Like I would try to tie that metric and actually translate that more into actual transaction activity on the platform as a way to show like your impressive traction. Because that can be viewed very quickly as a vanity metric if you don't expand on that.
Okay. And we do have that information. Thank you.
Perfect. Yep.
Awesome.
And just, for brevity's sake, I think Jorge covered a lot of other awesome things. Nina, happy to chat offline, but great job otherwise. Yeah.
That I would love. Okay. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, guys. Great feedback. I would just add two things, Nina, not necessarily about the pitch itself. One Jorge touched on, which is your commission, which on the slide, it said 7.5%, I believe. So there was, I think maybe you said something else, but it was 7.5 on the slide, which seems high to me, just sort of as a overarching point in terms of fees. So I would dig into a little bit more of that. And then lastly, you highlighted very briefly that the recipient has to create a profile and put what gifts he or she or they might want. You didn't really talk about any kind of issue in terms of stickiness or difficulty. If I'm the gift giver and the gift receiver hasn't done that, do I invite them to do that? I just think next time around, that's a huge problem for me when I can just go to Venmo and Venmo somebody. So I think you have to incorporate that into your pitch. Any investor is going to talk about that piece of it. So maybe incorporate a little bit of how you anticipate that piece working into the pitch itself.
So, I will add it in. Thank you.
Great.
That's great feedback, Lisa. I know we're pressed for time. I have one more thing that came to me. It's a super important point. Nina, one other element is that Tam Sam Som slide that you had. If I do quick back of the napkin math, you showed your target was about $73.5 million, just that first initial target. Your take rate is 7.5%, or what's posted on the slide. That's $5 million of net revenue. And so I would think about maybe positioning that a little differently, or making sure that you're demonstrating an adequate market size that you can really grow into, because for venture investors, they need to see a pathway where you're generating, over 100 million annually in net revenue to be like a big company that's going to IPO one day or be at a unicorn valuation, which are the companies that they need a profile to invest in. And so like just one thing to think about, like I caught that quick mental math there, and that doesn't really line up net revenue wise to what like would entice a venture investment. Yeah.
Okay, that is
Right.
great. Thank you, Josh.
Thanks, everybody. Great presentation and terrific feedback. Renata, you are up. I know we didn't have time to check your screen, but hopefully technically it will work smoothly. Please go ahead and share your screen and get started when you're ready.
Great. Okay. All right. I'm going to start from the beginning. Here we go. All right. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having Infinity on. We are a Web3 platform designed to help artists, both those who are new independent artists and those actually who are tired of the major labels. And we built this platform, we built this company, a bunch of music industry and tech industry veterans, because we know that people talk about Web3, but it is sort of similar to the days of Napster, if you think about it. In the music industry, there was this thing called Napster. It gave people the ability to download things. It had an illegal start, but it ultimately changed the industry because streaming became the next big way of buying music and delivering music, unlike just rather than selling CDs. So we have streaming now because of that. So we're there again. And this time, it's not just a great opportunity because it's more efficient or things like that, but because it's the first time independent artists and artists who are already on major labels can actually be independent, can actually make real money. And I'll get into that in a little bit more detail as well. The music industry now stinks if you're a recording artist. You barely make any money. Even if you have millions of followers, millions of people who are looking at your streaming on Apple Music or Spotify, you're barely making anything. You are barely making anything. And that's if you're the independent or if you're doing it as a major label. And right now, and so it's the best time, if you believe in Web3 or you learn about it, that you can focus your entire career on not chasing streaming to sell your music or for people to become interested in you, but to be able to sell it by selling your music as NFTs. And everything you offer is NFTs, including things, right, tickets to your concert, but mainly there, because you can really focus on a core group of fans and you can sell. Infinity is here because right now, there's a convergence of two different things going on for music and for things in general, and that is the rise of independent music, the rise of independent labels, the rise of things that are now slowly chipping it away the way things are, and that is that the independent labels such as the Universal Music Group, Sony, the Warner Music Group, that they really dominate. And so things are changing, and the other convergence is Web3. If anybody's been paying attention, if you know anything about NFTs, there's been a lot of hoopla, sales going up and down, the market going crazy in art and music and gaming. But music, it's really beginning to have an impact. And again, just like how music has changed from vinyl to cassette tapes to CDs to download, it's changing. It will change. And companies like Infinity that are here in the beginning, who are capable of executing, we can be very, very successful. We believe that 1,000%. You know what? I'm looking for my slide. Oh, okay, good. So we've begun already. We built our product and we are iterating it as well. But this is sort of right now what it looks like, an experience on the inside where if you happen to be an independent artist and you have signed up with our platform, you can do a 1 easy 2, 3 step thing to be able to create your NFT and to have it launched on Infinity. And then on top of that, you also have the ability to receive marketing and promotion support through Infinity, which is something very different if you are into Web3 now and NFTs. There are exchanges where you can sort of sell yourself, but you're not going to have marketing support the way you can with a company like Infinity. So we have that now as a marketing in a box. We are iterating that to automate it more. That's what we're looking at. From a sort of a fan perspective as well, you know, I talk about the fact that artists can make money. This is looking at sort of really our platform. If you're looking in it and you want to buy music, right? You can scroll through, you can do things, and you can look at different artists, find out who they are, and decide to buy. If you happen to be a fan, right, or certainly an early fan, NFTs also are great. Why? Because there's this thing called the blockchain, which it's not even worth getting into the technology, but the idea is you can actually prove that you were an early supporter of someone, unlike now that exists. And that has a lot of value if you are supporting younger artists, or artists that are unknown. And in the art market, in the art world today, you can think about things like, I don't know, my friend was into Madonna long ago before anybody ever was. She bought old vinyl from her. And that sort of is a collectible. It's worth something. Now with NFTs, it's a whole new ballgame. So it has a lot of value. And it has a lot of value like the old days. If I used to have a vinyl collection, I used to save my ticket stubs. When I went to concerts, you can do all those things as a fan with NFTs. You own your own collection. So it's tremendous, not just for artists who can finally really make a living, but for fans who get some value for supporting artists when nobody else does. In terms of where we've been, we're relatively new. We started a year and a half ago. Actually, we were graduates. I had gone through the Founder Institute, the world's largest pre-seed accelerator program. We went through the New York cohort, although we are a Baltimore-based company. We believe in the ecotech environment and ecosystem, and we want to be a part of it. We've launched our first collection back in November. Really, we've only launched 3 NFTs at this point in time. I've sold actually at this point in excess of 1,600 NFTs, which is pretty incredible when you think all you've done is 3. We've been building our social media, as you can see here. So we've got a pretty amazing track record. And then on top of that, we have a patent pending provisional, both in the U.S. and we've preserved our rights also to file internationally. Music player. So we are mindful of innovation. We are excited about the future, and we know we are getting traction. What's not on here now also is our new brand, our sponsorship, our rather partnership with the Hype magazine, which is a very old 21-year-old brand in hip hop music, and they are excited. They consider us their Web3 arm for dealing with independent artists, and then some to convert them and say, what are you doing chasing streaming? Come with Infinity. And that's really what we believe we can do for everyone. In terms of our
Renata, please wrap it up.
Yeah, sure. Oh, I'm sorry. Our team, we're experienced, knee deep in the music industry and the tech industry. In particular, I just want to point out here, we have Lord Finesse and Havoc, who are very well-known people from the music industry. They're very well-known producers with top acts like 50 Cent, Jay-Z. TAM, we've looked at 2 things, Web 2 and Web 3. Again, global music, recorded music on the rise on the right-hand side, 31.2. Music NFTs are on the rise, 1.35. You can imagine in 5 years how much that's going to be changing. In terms of what's out there, there really isn't a company, if you look at the top right, Infinity, who's focusing on Web 3 for independent artists, even though in Web 2, there's some really good ones, Patreon and SoundCloud.
Renata, I'm sorry to cut you off. You're way over, and I just want to be able to have some time for the actual feedback for you. Sorry about that.
Thank you for your time, but we aspire even in 1 year from our funding that we're looking to do for 1 million for a modest revenue of 1.9 if we sell only 10,000 user memberships to independent artists to be able to mint on our platform and receive our marketing and promotion support. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Josh, do you want to kick off some feedback for Renata?
I'm happy to. Renata, thank you for doing the pitch there. That was great. It was very interesting to learn about that industry, actually. So I think one thing that jumps out is like, this is a really interesting topic, right? It's this intersection of like pop culture and entertainment and cutting edge technology. Your opening should reflect that. Okay? And I'll be a little more like specific. What's like a really compelling statistic about independent artists and like the lack of revenue that they're able to generate without being attached to a label, or what the big labels have absorbed in terms of total revenue in the industry versus independent artists? Something that shows the dichotomy between those 2 groups and why there's this opportunity to like reinflate the presence of independent artistry. That's like one thing. I think that's a really compelling thing.
Thank you.
It helps set the stage. Not only is that interesting, it sets the stage for the problem and the opportunity that exists because of the imbalance between those 2 groups now. One other thing I would say, you need to bring the business model, the actual like revenue model up earlier into the conversation. And so after you explain like what you do, how it's delivered, how do you make money off it? That was buried much later in the conversation, and it was conflated on the same slide with the like funding requests. Those should actually be, I think, separate slides and topics altogether. You have a slide based on funding and what you're going to allocate that capital for. You have another slide of like how you're generating revenue and what is that, you know, what is the value that you're bringing in terms of like the number of NFTs that are minted. How does that translate into subscription revenue versus there's a transactional component to that as well.
Yeah.
Tying the service and the value add offering with the like pricing component of and the revenue model. Other things are like, you know, explaining quickly, like, you know, how can NFTs be a good platform or a forum for independent artists to monetize well. Like, I didn't gather that as someone that doesn't know that space well from the slide deck itself. And also one other point, I wouldn't even touch on talking about the concerns or volatility of NFTs in those other areas. You talked about how there's concerns in gaming and other things like that. That may be a well-known fact, but I would actually more focus on like the positive aspects of like why it's a great solution for this specific grouping.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, of course. Another thing, you spoke about this awesome partnership with Hype Magazine. That was basically like buried in there in like a quick one-liner that you mentioned. That's an amazing partnership. Have a logo of Hype Magazine up there. Show that big brand that you're partnered with them. Explain what does that do in terms of your distribution, your access to independent artistry. How does that help scale your business and give you like a competitive advantage for that distribution? Like, that's really important to talk about some of those kind of go-to-market accomplishments. And then the other thing is I caught again the TAM slide. When I looked at the just small, like kind of a, you know, obtainable market, it showed like a $4.6 million market today. If that's either true, if that's not true, it's very misleading. If that is true, what you have to do is explain why you believe that that market is going to grow significantly over time. What are the dynamics or the trends that are going to help shape that, where you can be an early adopter and mover, and then actually help, you know, be in position to like win the market as it expands over time.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Jorge.
Yeah, those are fantastic points, Josh. I agree on everything you said. To kind of add on to this, so I wrote a note here. I heard this on a podcast, so I haven't confirmed. But I apparently Napster still exists, and they pay. They're actually one of the ones that platforms that pay the artists the most for streaming. I learned that yesterday, so I want to take a note of that. All right, so a couple of things here, kind of adding on, is I'm curious as to how would this platform benefits the artists when it comes to their bottom line, right? Obviously the artists, right, they want to get the art out, but they want to make a living out of that as well. And I think it ties into the storytelling piece of how you make a compelling case. And so I just had a lot of questions of like, you know, do artists actually want NFTs? Right? How does being in this platform translate into performances, into people going into their concerts, right? Is my understanding of the music industry, and I could be wrong, is that at least particularly indie artists make most of their income by performances rather than streams and listens, right? And so how does that translate into the real world? Because ultimately it comes down to being a financial decision by the artist as well. And so making that case from their perspective. The traction was really interesting, and having folks from like Mobb Deep, that's a recognizable name. At least for me as a millennial, I recognize that name. Right. And I think that I really liked the beginning when you were painting the picture for all of us. But I think also it's going back to Josh's point about the increasing market, like is indie music growing exponentially where it makes sense to make this kind of investment, right? And so telling us that as the audience, and also why is indie music increasing, right? And I have my own assumptions, but your storytelling, so to tell us, paint us that picture as well. Revenue model, had a note here, but I know that was towards the end. And I do think I want to go back to the pitch kind of structure of tightening it up, right? So you run out of time towards the end. And so my kind of advice in that direction would be to pick the structure of problem, solution, right? And then lead with that, and then go into traction, market, customer, etc., and force yourself to go down to like 4 minutes, to go down to 3 minutes. So you get the essentials out, and then you can build from there. So that way you don't run out of time, but you're also able to weave in a cohesive story that's compelling for us, because there was a lot of nuggets everywhere. It just felt kind of disorganized. And so it became our job to kind of pick it together and make our own little pie of all the little pieces. And so serve us that pie instead. All right, enough of the allegories here. So overall, great job, Renata, and I'm super interested in music. I am a music fan myself. I was very giddy when you started talking about indie music. So and vinyls and so on. All right, so that's my notes here.
I'm going to say, look, I get an A+
Awesome.
on a enthusiasm. That's for sure.
Which is good.
Enthusiasm, actually,
It's hard to teach enthusiasm. It's hard to teach
true.
enthusiasm.
No.
Okay.
And industry expertise, actually. I mean, domain knowledge I do have. So, but I'll tell you
Well,
one thing. I pitched a couple of times, and I love these suggestions because I'm going to change some things. But I always find it interesting because either you know about Web3 and you don't, and so if I'm pitching to an audience who doesn't really know about it, I'm spending more time trying to explain that, and then and so it's a little frustrating sometimes because I ought to just prepare 2 pitches, one for a Web3 set of investors and maybe one for if you're not. Maybe that's probably what I should do.
Yeah, it could be one for the clients, aka the artist, and one for the investment side of things. That, at least from what I understand. Yeah.
I mean, depending upon your audience, for everybody, it's going to have to
Yeah.
slightly change one way or the other. That's always the case. If your investor is more focused on Web3 and doesn't really care what the product or industry it is, then dig into the Web3 piece. But if it's somebody that's more interested on the music side and what you're doing there with, NFTs and ownership and giving these artists an opportunity to increase their own net worth and revenue, then, you lean in there. It's going to have to all be in there in one way or another. This brings us to the new, go ahead, Jorge. You have one more thing to say?
I have one more thing. It's more of a structural, going to your point, Lisa, of I don't know, maybe you're already doing this, maybe you're not, is having a master slide deck where you have either one version of one slide and a second version of the slide, depending on the audience, or you have a new slide entirely they only use for one audience, but not the other, etc. And then it's all in the same document. And then you can, depending on who you pitch into, or you hide some of those slides or kind of interchange them and have some like backup slides, quote unquote, that if there's a Q&A session at a particular pitch competition, you can say, oh, actually, we do have a slide. You go click past like the quote unquote final slide and then show them that. That could also be useful for this like different audience pitching.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that brings us up until noon. I just want to thank everybody for joining us today for our August Pitchmasters workshop. Of course, the door rings and the dog barks right at the end. Special thank you to Ram and Nita and Renata for pitching today. I'm so sorry. To Josh and Jorge for our sponsors and our partners. I hope you all found it valuable. Please check out Next for future events. Follow us on LinkedIn and all of that good stuff with my Labradoodle barking in the background. Thank you all and have a great rest of your day.
Bye, y'all. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. See ya.